Hello everybody, it is that time of year. The wait is nearly over. It is almost time for Game of Thrones to return. We are heading into the 7th season of the show. It has been a longer wait than usual. We're only going to get 7 episodes this season, but they're going to be longer episodes, nearly all of them reaching the hour mark, which is going to be incredible. And I'm just going to talk a little bit in this video about what I think is going to happen this season. And, you know, these are just predictions. I don't know anything. We're past the books. I've never even read the books, so I don't know anything about what could happen. So these are all just conjecture. Don't take this as a spoiler, but if you haven't seen the previous 6 seasons, I am going to say things that could be considered a spoiler. So that's your warning. Don't watch this if you haven't seen the 6th season, episode 10, any of it. Just stop watching. So obviously we have a lot of things going on. The last episode that we left off on, The Winds of Winter, was a huge megalithic episode. So much happened. And I think obviously that usually the first episode of Game of Thrones is kind of like the aftermath of the previous season. This year, I think we're just going to jump right into it because there have been reports that this is going to be a much more fast-paced season, which could have its pros and its cons. It depends on how they obviously do it, because I love the political intrigue. I like that kind of stuff, and I'm worried that because we're going into more of the war stuff, that we're going to lose that, and I hope that we don't, and I don't think we are. I think we're going to have a lot of strategic scenes, many probably involving Tyrion. And, of course, I'm going to kind of go through and plot line talking about this because there's just so many of them. So, let's just get this rolling. A little bit about the King's Landing stuff. We have Cersei and Jaime. Cersei is now queen of the entire country. And Jaime, I guess he's still the leader of the King's, or I guess now the Queen's Guard. I hope Jaime can finally maybe have a bigger role. He's been in the show, and he was out of King's Landing for Season 5, and he had a big role there. But even then, in Season 6, he was really sidelined for a lot of it, and Jaime hasn't really been a significant player in a lot of this stuff. Maybe because Jaime's just not that good of a tactician. Maybe it's just because Jaime's character arc kind of is revolving around itself now, which I think is realistic. I don't think it's a bad thing. But I think that Jaime's character doesn't have a lot of places to go, and now he's kind of just a prop for Cersei. So I'm really hoping that this season we get to see Jaime flex his muscles a little bit. But I think a lot of it's going to be trying to tamper Cersei now that she has the power to do all the horrible, horrific things that she wants to do to people. I think that obviously she's going to be coming into the queendom and in a very bad time to be in that role, because now she has to worry about the fact that Jon Snow has taken over the North again, is now King of the North. That obviously Daenerys is going to be landing what looks like in Dragonstone, which will be interesting. That the Tyrells have now partnered with them. That Dorne has partnered with them. She's going to have to worry about all of this, and we kind of get a hint at this in the trailer. So I think that her plotline is really just going to be how she's basically just, it's all crumbling around her. And maybe just to see how her sanity is going to hold up, and how she's basically going to completely ruin the kingdom because she's going to be so focused on herself. And it's going to be very interesting to see that implosion, which I think will be very much internal. To the north, we kind of have a lot of things going on. We have a lot of characters that are rebringing themselves back into the fold, becoming one plot line. And the big thing is, I think obviously this is very much foreshadowed, that we're going to see Bran, Jon, and Sansa all team up again, and I think there's a good chance that Arya can meet up with them again, though I'm not really sure about that because she is kind of on a path to kill everybody she wants to kill. Maybe she wouldn't want to join up with an army like Jon, but you never know. Maybe she wants to see her family, and maybe she still has some humanity in her after she killed Walder Frey last season, which was a great scene. I think they're all going to reunite. And I think we're going to kind of see that they're going to be a power again, even though they don't have a lot of men. Their influence will be a big factor in the wars to come, as we have said in the show many times. And obviously, we all think they're going to align with Daenerys. We don't really see why they'd be opposed to Daenerys. And I think they'll be a serious threat to the Lannisters at this point. Maybe more symbolically than anything. But the Starks are still an influential, important house. The North hasn't just forgotten about them. The realm hasn't just forgotten about the Starks. And now that we have a Stark back as the King of the North, it'll be very interesting to see Jon and how he will play a role in the military of Daenerys. What politics will lead this alliance? Will they be able to be an independent nation? It's hard to say. We know that's what the Starks want, but also Daenerys wants to rule everything. She wants to be the queen of Westeros. So it'll be interesting to see how that combination works out, and obviously how does Daenerys and Jon figure out that he's a Targaryen. We know that he's a Targaryen. Bran knows he's a Targaryen. But how will that information affect Jon? How will it affect Daenerys? The big plot mover this season is going to be Daenerys' landing in Westeros. How she is going to take on the Seven Kingdoms. Now, obviously, she has many of these kingdoms siding with her. There is no more really Baratheon leader in the Westeros anymore. Now that Stannis is dead, there really are maybe like Joe Baratheon's around, but he doesn't really exist in the show. So really, she's probably just gonna, you know, settle in Dragonstone for now. The Tullys aren't really around. So really, it's just the Lannisters, the Tyrells, the Martells, and the Starks. And most of those people are aligning with Daenerys. So I think what we're really coming down to here is that we're going to even the playing field. We're going to have Euron obviously show up. He's going to not side of Daenerys because she's made this pact with Yara and Theon. So he's going to team up with Cersei. And I think that Peter Baelish, Littlefinger, is going to take the Knights of the Vale, and he's going to team up with Cersei. And that's going to be their attempt to somehow take down Daenerys and her conquest. I don't see any situation where Daenerys loses this season. It doesn't make logical sense. She has so much behind her, military-wise, momentum-wise, and Cersei just seems like everything like I said before, is just crumbling internally. Her sanity, her entire plan. She just seems like her entire plan now is just to blow stuff up that gets in her way, and that's not really going to work in this situation. So I think that's really, we're going to see those sides convene. They're going to try to defeat them. I don't think that we're going to get that. I think that we're going to see Daenerys overall win against the Lannisters. We're going to see her align with many other houses, which you kind of got a glimpse of. We're going to see probably the internal politics of those alliances. Because how are these people going to get along? How is Dorne going to get into this? Because Dorne wants to be independent like they've basically been throughout the entire show. And how is that going to factor into what Daenerys wants? So I think there are going to be very much an internal politics game among all these factions. But I think for the most part, we're going to see Daenerys overall succeed in taking over the Seven Kingdoms. Interesting about this season seems that there is a kind of general consensus that this season will be about Daenerys taking over the land, taking over Westeros, and then next season will be the White Walkers. But the thing is, we see White Walkers in this season. We see Jon Snow being up north. So it's very interesting to see where this is going to go. Are the White Walkers going to attack this season? Is this going to be a complete mess? I don't really know. I've been hoping that we're going to have, the White Walkers and Daenerys taking over the kingdoms kind of concurrently happen, and that Season 8 is actually just the aftermath of this, kind of the politics of winning a war and what you got to do to establish a new reign. Though I don't think the show is going to do that, because I don't think that makes for sexy television. It doesn't make for great marketing, but I think that would be cool from my point of view. But that's not going to happen. We're going to probably just see glimpses of White Walker stuff, mainly with the Jon storyline. Seems to be what we're heading toward. But I think mostly we're still going to focus on the Cersei and Daenerys stuff. So let's talk about who dies this season. Who is going to die? Because that's really the big question. And now I'm not going to talk about who's going to make it to the end, who's going to make it to Season 8, who's going to make it past Season 8. I'm going to talk about just who's going to make it to be in Season 8. Now, there are a couple characters I could see dying. Now, of course, there are smaller characters who could die, who I probably won't care that much if they die. But, for one, I think Euron is pretty much toast. I think that he'll be in it for most of the season. He'll probably get defeated at the end. It'll be fun. I think that Littlefinger is going to survive, but I think Littlefinger is going to get locked up and he's never going to be able to, do plans again. I think that Daenerys is not going to kill him because he doesn't really have anything, over him to have her swing the sword on him, but I think he'll be locked up for a long time. I think that We could see people within Daenerys' group die. Like, I really hope everyone in Dorne dies. Any character in the Dorne storyline can just go ahead and die. I don't care. All those characters are the worst characters in the show. They can all die. I think Laura. Oh, Laura's already dead. I think that we could see Sansa die. I think that of the Starks, Arya, Bran, and Jon are all gonna live. But I think Sansa could die by the hand of Littlefinger. I think that's a very plausible situation because she basically betrayed him. And you don't betray Littlefinger and just get away with it. So I think that for sure Sansa actually could die this season. But the big thing is I think that Cersei is probably going to be the big death of this season. It could be Jaime instead. Maybe Cersei is kept alive because she's a political figure now. But Jaime's just a dude in the frickin' Kings. Yeah, he has the name, but he's basically disavowed the name. So yeah, he could totally die. I think Jaime could very much die. But I think that Cersei actually will probably commit suicide at the end of this season because she's lost everything. And I don't think there's any other big characters that could die. Maybe Theon could die, but who cares? Maybe Yara. But I think Yara is going to make it to next season. I think Theon will die. But those are really the big characters. Of course, there are going to be plenty of smaller characters who will die that we won't really care about. You know, Idz could die. But for the most part, I think those are the big players who are going to fall. And that's really it. Thank you all for watching. This has been a long-winded video, but I'm just so excited for Season 7. I'm going to be reviewing it episode by episode and be talking about each episode. So I'll be very excited to see what happens on Sunday, and I'll be talking about it on Monday. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.